voted against it.
But don't they have to? I mean, they're on shaky ground with the progressives in the party.
I mean, they both voted for the deal that was made with Trump in the spring. So it is a little unclear what happened there. I do think what you see here going on is something that has been happening within the Democratic Party for these 9+ months of the Trump presidency, which is that there is a divide in the Democratic Party, not over age or ideology. We sometimes talk about that progressives from that's not what is going on. It is a divide between people who see this as needing to fight.
Yes.
And having a posture of fighting and fighting Trump and fighting for something, and those who basically are approaching this as we need to figure out a way through this, negotiate business as usual, whether it's an emergency situation or not. And that is what is playing out here again.
The axis of compromise. I want to talk about the folks who are on the end that's more of the fighting. 39 Senate Democrats, right, could still vote against this. Here's some of them.
Now, I know as part of this resolution that the majority leader is going to say, well, Democrats can put together their own bill and it'll come to the floor here in the Senate for a vote. As everybody here knows, that is a totally meaningless gesture.
I mean, I voted no just because I'm so pissed off. I'm just frustrated that you're right, 40 days, and we gave them every chance to negotiate a moderate. Doesn't have to put the whole thing back. And they wouldn't do it.
I mean, pissed off, I think, is probably an accurate reflection of where a lot of Democrats, both on the Hill and in the country, are this morning. I think
but is it a meaningless gesture if it ends this thing and people are hurting?
I think that's the calculation that's challenging is, Democrats. But I think, one interesting dynamic to look at was the senators from Virginia who split on this. Obviously, Kaine saying that it was time, they needed to do something. Warner not agreeing to this deal. And that's a state that has been obviously, like all states, hit by SNAP benefits, but also the impact on federal jobs there, federal workers.
Sure.
So this is a tough dynamic for Democrats, but you have a lot of people who felt like we stuck it in here for this many days, trying to get something. You saw the election results last week. And
it brings me to Republicans, actually, because it could have always ended this way, which is you guys get your vote on this thing, we get our clean CR budget resolution, everyone goes home happy. This is kind of how it's happened in the past. We promise you we'll vote on this thing later, but they took a really long time to make that offer.
I mean, I think it's notable that it's less than a week out from the election where we saw Democrats perform well across the country and in key states. We knew that when we saw, the initial conversation was, oh, this can't last too long. Like this will get figured out. That's usually what happens. And as it started dragging on, then there was more speculation and conversation about, wait, are both parties kind of waiting to see how things shake out in the election to sort of see who has more momentum on their side?
And who was getting blame? It wasn't working out the way people expected.
And we saw the president for weeks not really say too much about the shutdown, not talk too much or wade too much into what needed to be happening. But last week, we did see him talk multiple times about him wanting to see moves on this. Now, for him, it started turning into a conversation about the filibuster and wanting to kill the filibuster.
Which is not in here.
Which is not in there and is not something that Senate Republicans wanted to have to deal with. So I think for them, that also put them in a position to say, what can we do here that moves the president away from the filibuster and gets us to a place that we can live with?
If approved, the deal would extend government funding through January 30th.
Yep. So AKA, I mean, if we don't figure out something by January 30th, the Dems will shut down the government again. Food stamps, I mean, they'll be funded through the fiscal year of 2026. So that means that even if the CR bill doesn't get passed or even they shut the government down, actually, hold on, wait. Would there still be the funding? So, okay, yeah, I'm actually going to have to look that up a little bit deeper because I want to say that, well, they're pretty much ensuring that the Dems can't hold food stamps, hostage again. But I'm going to make sure if that's true. But they are going to reverse Trump's federal worker layoff, saying also give them back pay. But it does not extend the healthcare subsidies that they've been complaining about since day one. But it does guarantee future Senate votes on subsidies. So it's like I said, it's a pinky promise that we'll have a conversation on subsidies or debate it.
Would fund SNAP benefits through the fiscal year of 2026 and reverse President Trump's layoffs of federal workers during the shutdown. But Democrats did not get the main thing that they've been fighting for, an agreement to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies. What they got instead was a promise from Republicans to
Yes, they got the trust me, bro. This is gonna be hilarious. This is gonna be fun. But yes, they got the biggest trust me, bro, from the Republicans. Like, bro, just trust me, man. We gonna talk about them healthcare subsidies, man. Trust me. Trust us, bro. We got y'all healthcare subsidies. We ain't gonna let y'all go without. Trust us, bro, compadre, fellow American. Man, don't worry. No, don't worry. I'm pretty sure they'll hold strong to their commitments. And if the Dems try to shut down the government because they refuse to hold up their commitments to debating healthcare reforms, then I will actually be supporting the Dems shutting down the government. You know, if they don't hold up their end of the deal.
hold a vote on that next month. For many Democrats, including the party's leaders, that's simply not enough. Without those credits, health insurance premiums could soar for millions of Americans. The Democrat-aligned lawmakers who crossed party lines to support the deal say they had little choice.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. It would only mean more harm for families in New Hampshire and all across the country.
As I assessed it, there was zero chance of dealing with the ACA issue as long as the shutdown continued. Now, I don't know, 50-50, but there's a lot better chance now than there was this morning.
All right, joining me now is Steph Kite, a politics reporter with Axios.
I mean, to be quite honest, I'll be real with you. They brought it to national attention. So that was, they could have just did this within a week if they wanted to bring it to national attention. But yeah, everybody's talking about it now. And now it's become a real conversation. So they kind of found a way to move it up to the top of the itinerary for the Republicans, or really for the House and the Senate. So, hey, if that was the plan, hey, it worked in that regard. But if the plan was actually get the Obama healthcare subsidies and all that good stuff, well, that was a complete failure.
Just give us a sense of what the latest is right now. What will happen today?
Well, right now, the biggest question is whether there's going to be unanimous agreement in the Senate to move forward on this final vote on this package. Last night was a huge breakthrough, the first time that there were enough Democratic votes to even move forward with some kind of a bipartisan deal, but they still have to pass that final passage vote. And this could drag on for a couple days. All eyes are on Senator Rand Paul, the Republican from Kentucky, who often tries to drag these things out. It's unclear if there's going to be an agreement to get this done quickly. Then, of course, the House is going to have to come back and take this up as well. And it's not going to be an easy feat for Speaker Johnson to get this through his chamber either, especially given when it comes to these CRs, these short-term funding bills. There are many Republicans who are uncomfortable with continuing to vote for these to push back, the full appropriations process. It's also very clear that Democratic leadership is opposed to this deal, and that will keep many.
Obviously, I mean, both Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer came out in disappointment and damn near feeling betrayed. Well, because they kind of were. I mean, they were trying to hold ground, but we got 8 of those, Dems to come over and help open up the government. All right, guys. Let's go to outrage grows among Dems after 8 side with GOP on shutdown. All right.
To pass a bill to reopen the government, it requires all 100 senators. The question right now is when the Senate will actually vote to pass a bill to reopen the government. It requires all 100 senators to reach a time agreement. Any one senator can object and drag it out. And they're trying to negotiate behind the scenes to resolve some concerns. There is some expectation that this bill could pass potentially late tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. Then the House would come back into session within 36 hours. Remember, the House has been out of session since September 19th. Because of the Speaker's decision to keep the chamber out, trying to pressure Democrats in the Senate to vote for the bill to reopen the government. Now, this deal that was cut was a Senate deal that not only would reopen the government until January 30th, it includes, as part of that Affordable Care Act subsidy discussion, a separate vote that would occur no later than the second week of December on an ACA bill. It is unclear what that bill is. Democrats would draft that bill, then it would come to the floor. But because it's a separate vote and not tied to government funding, that means there is no assurance at all that this will become law, much less pass the Senate or pass the Republican-led House. And that is what's causing so much frustration in the angst. Senator Mark Kelly told me moments ago that he was disappointed with this deal that was cut, but he also contended this will be another issue come December, another chance for the two sides to make their choices known about health care.
Are you frustrated with your colleagues for cutting this deal?
Well, this is a challenging, situation for everybody, and but the Republicans are going to have another opportunity here in December to show the American people where they are on this. They're going to be presented with an option to do something on these premiums, and they'll have to provide the votes if the American people is going to get some relief.
Now, I talked to several of those Democratic senators who did cut this deal, and I asked them about the concerns among some on the left flank that this amounted to a capitulation of sorts over health care. And they said, look, there was really no opportunity, no chance of getting a better deal at this point. There was some hope, they believe, that Trump could get behind an extension of those subsidies that are expiring at year's end because of the concern that people's health care premiums are set to increase and are already increasing because of the expectation that they would expire. They thought that perhaps Trump could get behind this, particularly after last Tuesday's election losses. But over the last several days, Trump has dug in, criticizing the Affordable Care Act, contending that he would not agree with the extensions that the Democrats are calling for, injecting his own ideas into the mix. And there was an ultimate calculation by these members that this is the best deal they could get on this issue. Nothing really would change in their view if they held out another week or 2 weeks. Meantime, Americans were feeling the consequences increasingly day after day, whether it's federal food aid, furloughs, not getting paychecks, travel problems, and the like, and that this was a deal that had to be cut in order to move ahead here. But as you can see, as you noted, Casey, this party deeply divided over this deal, even though it's poised to pass Congress in just a matter of days.
Indeed. All right, Manu Raju, thanks very much. I'm sure we'll be following your reporting throughout the hour. And joining us now in the arena, Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton. He's also running for Senate in Massachusetts in 2026. He is primarying a fellow Democrat. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here. Do you think that Chuck Schumer is in control of the Senate Democratic caucus?
No, he's not. I mean, he's got 8 Democrats going rogue here. He himself voted against them. And that's not leadership. That's not leadership at a time when we desperately need leadership to stand up to Donald Trump. And it's certainly not leadership when Trump and the Republicans are close to caving here. He has them over a barrel. I mean, Trump just a few days ago, said that the election losses last Tuesday were in large part because of the government shutdown. That's pretty obvious to a lot of Americans.
I mean, look, man, y'all blame it on the shutdown, then y'all blame it on affordability, all types of BS, instead of just saying, look, we just want to state that we won in the election. Okay, guys, y'all won blue states and you won a blue city. I mean, that's that. I cannot be upset at that. And then it cannot really make me worried. So we'll wait till midterms to see what manifests. But I will say this. It does give me a reason to sit here and say that we needed to focus on affordability for the next 6 months. So, hey, I think focusing on affordability is going to be way more important than worrying about who's to blame for the shutdown. Because honestly, it's obviously the Democrats. It's so obvious that you need to add the most political spin just to make it sound like it's the Republicans' fault. But when you just simplify it to how the CR bill works, then it's easy to the Democrats' fault. Why? Because they're voting no on it. I mean, you can't sit there and point at the guys who are voting yes to keep the government open and then say it's their fault.
That Marjorie Taylor Greene, as conservative as you can come as a Republican, saying that her own family can't afford health care unless Republicans agree to what Democrats want. So I don't know why you would give in now.
Do you think that Chuck Schumer should step aside now?
I don't know. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on quite the roll lately. Now, her arguments on healthcare, okay, cool. Like we can always relate to that. But I remember when she was trying to make an argument for illegal immigrants, when she was trying to say, well, my people work in construction and, sometimes we use this illegal labor. I almost fell out my seat. I was like, bro, we should be locking your ass up then, Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you're really sitting there saying that you run a construction company and you guys hire illegal immigrants and that's how you keep your costs low, you need to go to jail. It was kind of crazy how nobody caught that part. And then ever since then, she's kind of been coming out against Trump about healthcare, affordability, and all this good stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad at her for raising those arguments. But when she made that argument about the illegals on construction, it kind of made me weary about all of her arguments forward. Because now it kind of just made it seem like, all right, you had no reason to go against Trump when it came to immigration. Affordability, I can get that. Supporting Israel, okay, cool, I can get behind that. But the immigration topic, I don't know, it was a bit unnecessary.
And let someone else lead Democrats in the Senate?
I think it would be better. I think it'd be better than the status quo. And I hear this from Democrats all across Massachusetts. Everywhere I go, people say there's a leadership vacuum right now in the Democratic Party. We need new leadership. We've got to stop protecting this establishment status quo that's gotten us a second term of Donald Trump. And he's hurting a lot of people, a lot of Americans all across this country. A lot of people right here in Massachusetts are being hurt by this administration. I mean, the guy literally went to the Supreme Court this past weekend and pleaded with them to allow him to let Americans starve. What kind of president is this? And now we're going to give it.
No, that's not actually what happened. Actually, no, the appeals court, it was the USDA, the Department of Agriculture, that was asking the appeals court saying we need to appeal it because we don't know if this is what we're supposed to be using contingency fund for because Congress has appropriated this. And sadly, the courts cannot appropriate funds. The courts cannot sit there and make the USDA or the U.S. Department of Agriculture pay up the contingency fund. Why? Because it's set for a certain special set of emergencies, and the fund is already linked to certain things already, like school lunches. So that was one of the main problems right there. And even the Justice Qatari Jackson, the most leftist justice, came back and said, there's no real good argument for this. We're going to send it back to the appeals court so you guys can formulate an argument because the court can't appropriate funds.
And the women? It doesn't make sense.
Is Senator Markey part of the problem?
Well, he is as long as he supports Senator Schumer. I mean, I don't think people look at Senator Markey and Senator Schumer and say, those are the leaders that are going to take us forward as Democrats. You know who they look at? They look at people like Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, two great veterans. I helped get to the House in 2018. I supported their campaigns with Serve America that helped flip seats all across the country when we needed to win back seats for the midterms and keep Trump accountable in his first term.
I mean, Shelley, I ain't got nothing against. Spanberger, the fact that she does not condemn or she not make Jay Jones step down, it lets me know that one, she supports political violence. And I mean, two, you can't really expect her to go outside of thinking of her party because she's willing to do anything to make sure that she had that rule. I mean, if she had any real integrity, she'd have made Jay Jones step down, even if that risks their plan to have complete control in Virginia. So it is a bit shameful that, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you, that the Dems in Virginia even let that guy still run. I mean, you would think they would show, I guess, I don't know, enough integrity or I don't know, enough morality to just make that man step down off the fact that he, wished death on children. Because when we made one of our elected officials step down over just saying Indians stink. So come on, Dems. Can y'all just be a little bit fair for once?
And now they're governors. Now they're winning races. Now they're showing real leadership. That's the next generation of leadership that we need to pass the torch to in the Democratic Party.
Congressman, the president just weighed in on what happened in the Senate over the weekend and what's next for the shutdown. Let's watch what he said. We'll talk about it. Take a look.
It depends what deal we're talking about, but if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit, but I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything, and we have support from enough Democrats, and we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Seems like a relatively positive tone from the president. Your reaction?
He is, of course, he's positive because Democrats just gave in. We just gave in to Donald Trump. We just gave in to a guy who's trying to let American families starve.
Bro, y'all was letting American families starve by voting no. What sense does that make? And this man has the crazy eyes, but bro, come on now. Like, y'all got to use common sense here. And bro, just saying that the Republicans, I'm going to say this again, saying that the Republicans have control of the Senate and the House is not a good argument. Like, it does not make sense to make that argument when the Dems are the ones voting no and keeping the government closed. That means our majority rule, at one, it means that we don't have full control of the House or the Senate, and it means we just have majority rule. And even our majority rule isn't strong enough to sit there and have things go through without the Dems. So yeah, that argument don't even make sense to make.
Doesn't care if there are American kids waiting in bread lines. We should not give in to him. A few months down the road, those
Hold on, whoa. Did he say that? Maybe I misheard that. Because did he say that it doesn't matter that American kids be waiting in bread lines, we should just resist? I doubt he said it. Maybe I was
Donald Trump. We just gave in to a guy who's trying to let American families starve, who doesn't care if there are American kids waiting in bread lines. We should not give in to him. A few months down the road, those same American.
Okay. He says Donald Trump doesn't care if there's kids waiting in bread lines. I mean, let's be real. Like I said, do you guys know when you vote no on that CR bill, that's what you guys were pretty much voting for, was sending veterans and government workers and kids to the food pantries, to bread lines. Yes, that's what, when you voted no on the CR bill, that's what you voted for. You can't have one without the other, Dems. I promise you, you can't say no on the CR bill, but then say, oh, we're not the ones, stopping the funding, though. You are. That's what voting no on the CR bill does.
Families that are starving right now because he's trying to prevent them from getting food are not going to be able to afford health care. We're the only ones standing between the American people and Donald Trump's vicious, hateful agenda. We've got to stand tall. We've got to beat Donald Trump.
The bread lines is crazy, though, because I'm just over here thinking like, damn, they out here with the bread lines? Like, can I get a piece of bread, sir? Like, come on now, bro. The pantry, okay? The pantry's not the bread line. Like, it's not that bad out here.
Not give in to him.
I know Democrats were supposed to talk amongst themselves just about an hour ago in the House. Can you give us a sense of how your colleagues in the House Democratic Caucus are feeling right now?
Very frustrated with Schumer and the Republicans, and the reality
Did Schumer
is that
talk to Jeffries about this at all?
I don't know, but I do know that what I heard from most of my colleagues is that we in the House want to stand strong and stand together and support Americans' right to afford health care, which should be a human right. And so we're kind of flabbergasted at what's going on in the Senate right now.
In terms of what's next in the
I mean, healthcare should be a human right. I mean, it's cute. It's touching and all, but what does that look like, my man? What does that truly look like? Like, it should be a human right. You know what? I agree with it. It sounds good. But like I said, how do we implement that? How do we make it a human right for everybody without, sending the government into a spending spiral? Like, please tell us how that works.
Do you think it's possible that this may not pass the House as it is?
Well, it's an interesting question because most Democrats are going to vote against it. I mean, the House Democratic Caucus seems pretty united against this deal. And, there may be some Republicans who are against it as well. I mean, look, we heard from Marjorie Taylor Greene that she can't afford health care. Now, you never count on her for a vote. She could change her mind at the last minute. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the Republicans are certainly going to try to jam this through because they just basically do whatever Donald Trump wants. But there's a lot of dissension here, and there's a lot of, there frankly was more room to negotiate than Senate Democrats took advantage of, in my opinion.
Before I let you go, Congressman, you clearly, and this interview I think underscores that you're looking at the base of your party, you're in a primary. You recently committed to support and lead legislation like the Transgender Bill of Rights. And this was after you told the New York Times that Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges America's faced. Referenced your daughters and said you don't want them to be run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. Do you want to revise and extend those remarks here based on this new statement?
My voting record on transgender rights is 100%. I'm the one who carried a lot of the water in the House Armed Services Committee on making sure that transgender troops can continue serving when Trump was trying to discriminate against them. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to have a debate about this issue, because when we refuse to do that, we just totally cede the grounds to Republicans who are going to advance a singularly hateful agenda. So my point is, Democrats need to take on these tough issues. We need to have debates. You know, the Olympics has restrictions on sports. We should be able to debate that ourselves and not, you know, and not refuse to take that on because we're too afraid of the backlash. Because if we don't take on these issues, then the people who get hurt at the end of the day are transgender Americans. But we know that Donald Trump and the Republicans are trying to take advantage of this, and we can't let them do that.
All right, Congressman Seth Moulton, always grateful to have you on the show. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Oh man, and somebody was talking about it. So somebody was saying, "Oh well, didn't the USDA ask the Supreme Court to stop the funding, to stop state funding?" Well, yes, but specifically to stop issuing full November SNAP benefits. So they said that these states can cover about 65% of SNAP benefits, and this is following the Supreme Court stay. The USDA directed states to issue partial benefits instead. So they're saying that the states cannot cover full benefits, but partial benefits. They're not just saying that, oh no, wind it all back. No, they're saying that you guys can provide partial benefits.
Great to see you.
And well, to give you the argument though, because it was on November 8th, the USDA sent a memo telling states that any files to issue full November SNAP benefits were unauthorized and that the states must immediately undo any step towards full benefits, warning of possible penalties. Examples: canceling the federal share of administrative costs and liability for overpayments. Yes, and this followed a Supreme Court stay. So they're just following the Supreme Court order, which, you know, you remember, you guys like to say that Trump likes to go outside the courts. Well, he's following the courts. Following the Supreme Court order, the USDA directed states to issue partial benefits instead, about 65% per reporting during the shutdown. This is coming from Reuters, however you want to pronounce it.
Now is when the Senate will actually vote to pass the bill to reopen the government. It requires all 100 senators to reach a time agreement. Any one senator can object and drag it out. And they're trying to negotiate behind the scenes to resolve some concerns. There is some expectation that this bill could pass potentially late tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. Then the House would come back into session within 36 hours. Remember, the House has been out of session since September 19th. Because of the speaker's decision to keep the chamber out, trying to pressure Democrats.
All right, now let's go ahead and get on to the next video here, because let's see here, Senate votes. Oh, no, let's go ahead and switch topics for a little bit. Let's get into whistleblower. Ghislaine Maxwell is getting special treatment in prison. So let's hear about it.
A whistleblower is telling the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee the Jeffrey Epstein accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is getting special treatment in prison and actively preparing a commutation application. In a letter from Congressman Jamie Raskin addressed directly to President Trump, Raskin says the whistleblower at Maxwell's new prison camp alleges that her extraordinary treatment includes customized meals delivered directly to her, visits to the prison exercise area after hours with a prison guard escort, and even access to a service dog in training to play with. This whistleblower also claims that one top prison official complained that he is, quote, sick of having to be Maxwell's B-word. I'll note that CNN has not independently verified the whistleblower's claims, but my source on this tonight is Congressman Jamie Raskin. And Congressman, on this whistleblower, I think a lot of people want to know what else they had to say to you.
Well, the whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell is just in a completely different category than every other prisoner. She gets essentially room service behind bars. She can use the shower. She can use the gym whenever she wants to. She gets special treatment there.
Yeah, they took her to the jail where they put rich people at. I mean, that's not a surpriser. That's no brainer. I'll be honest with you. I've been knew this. Yes, they sent Ghislaine Maxwell to a rich people prison where she can get makeup. I mean, she can work out, take a nice little stroll outside. I think it's in Texas too, so it's in great weather as well. I know, right? You'd hope she'd be in the dark depths of the jail to never see sunlight again, but no, they got her out there getting all the vitamin D and damn near being able to do whatever the hell she wants.
Unlike other,
well, of course, within the confines of that prison. Luxury prison, by the way.
Prisoners who have to communicate with people outside of the prison through the unreliable and very slow mail system. She's actually getting messages sent through the warden to the people that she wants to communicate with, and the warden is actually offering her the opportunity to communicate on legal matters with people outside of the prison through the warden. So it's a pretty extraordinary situation. Of course, her presence in that camp facility itself is completely astonishing, given that they had never had a sex offender before.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that facility is one for rich people, and these rich people did not commit any type of heinous crimes. They usually committed financial crimes, of course, like money laundering, fraud, I don't know, tax evasion, and did a pretty extensive amount of it, and that's why there's this high profile jail for rich people where they can damn near do whatever they want because they committed no violent crimes or no heinous crimes. Ghislaine Maxwell is not one of those people. She does come from money. She come from money, but as far as committing heinous crimes, yeah, she definitely got the check mark on that.
Offenders were not allowed in that camp, but she was allowed in, and she got in pretty much on an overnight basis after she met with Todd Blanche. She was subpoenaed.